Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe, and I'm a weapon of mass instruction. Today is Friday, December 14th, 2012, and it's about 10:30 at night, 10:30 p.m. All right, so real quick, I heard a little bit about the massacre up in Connecticut. If you hadn't heard about it already, which I'm sure everybody has because it's all over freaking everything, basically a guy busted in and killed like 27 people, 26 or 27. And I called it as soon as I freaking started hearing about this. Like, I didn't even go into any of the videos and shit on YouTube. But freaking, as soon as I heard about it, I said, you know what? I would not be surprised if the guy killed himself. And sure enough, he did. I'm not psychic or anything, but you know what? That's just a trend. Personally, I think it was a setup right from the start, same as the Aurora shooting. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. Unfortunate that 27 people died for the machinations of whoever's pulling the strings of the government. But I'm positive that it's to push gun control and to get it done once and for all. That's fine. Fine, whatever. You know, they're going to push for gun control anyway. It doesn't really matter. This matters a little bit more to me right now. And this right here, what you're looking at, is the full ritual layout for Tarot Magic. I considered doing breakdown episodes where I lay out specific parts of it, the cross, the circle, the triangle, and what they represent. But you know what? I'm just going to do it all in one. Okay. And you know, I don't have notes with me, but basically all the stuff I learned about Tarot Magic, the actual how to do it, I got from this book right here, Portable Magic by Donald Tyson. I mentioned that before, but good stuff there. My other reference currently, High Magic by Frater U.D. It's hard to read, but U.D. is his name. Frater U.D. That's some good stuff too, but he gets into like the main like ritual ceremonial magic using the actual tools and stuff like that. He does explore other stuff. That's where I learned sigil magic, and I'll go into that in a little bit. Maybe in another episode. I'll see how long this takes. But here's your ritual layout, and I'll explain each part of it as we go along. All right. Basically, the first thing you're going to set up is your before you do anything else, it would be your altar. Okay, your ritual altar. And this whole thing is representing on the astral plane a ritual temple, basically your sacred place. It's your happy place, you know what I mean? It's where you feel safe, and you are safe on the astral plane, and you know it'll help strengthen your magic here in the physical. But here is your altar. It's in the shape of a cross, okay? Because it's kind of hard to do a square shape with tarot cards. You can do it, but if you do it, the aces no longer point to the poles of the compass. So here we've got the Ace of Swords pointing to the east. We've got the Ace of Wands pointing south, Ace of Cups pointing to the west, and the Ace of Pentacles pointing to the north. Now, a real quick rundown of what the suits represent. Basically, things from the suit of swords represent thought and strife. All right, basically they're your warrior class of ideas. All right, your you know, your conflict, your intellectual stuff. Believe it or not. So traditionally the warriors class. All right, the wands are basically royalty. All right, wands royalty, easy to remember, ruling, dominance. You know, gaining influence over other people, stuff like that. That's your wands, okay, and they're strong in the south. All right, cups, basically, that's your faith, ideals, emotions, and stuff like that. All right, and that's, you know, priest class traditionally. You can look all this up. And the pentacles in the north, that's your worldly issues, money, jobs, getting a raise, making sure you got enough resources for your family, stuff like that. That's your peasant class, all right, or artisans. Something I just realized just now is The deck I'm using, the Vampire deck, is actually very well suited for Magic. And the reason why I say that is because it's very easy to remember aces for your altar with this one, at least, because you got this ribbon around. I never noticed that until just now. Looking through my screen, I got that circle going on. So there you go. That's your it represents. That's a good representation of the actual like circle as it expands. But I'll go into that. So that's basically the physical representation of your altar on the astral plane. And as you imagine it, you would basically imagine a big block of stone or whatever material with a cross of pure energy running through it. And don't take the cross as any sort of religious connotation. You'll notice cultures around the world have used crosses of one kind or another, not just Christianity, to represent different things. All right, you might notice a little bit of what looks like a swastika pattern there. All right, and that was like what, Hindu, or something like that. It was a Far Eastern and Native American symbol. Believe it or not, they both had it, and it represented good luck or good health. So there you go. I just noticed that too just now. But yeah, this is the first thing you're going to construct with your deck. All right, you're going to use the 4 aces: Ace of Swords first, Ace of Wands, Ace of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. And also what I discovered is when you lay out your ritual setup for tarot magic, it basically, you're going to run through the same ritual layout as when you're doing it with your traditional high magic, your traditional ceremonial magic. So I'm not really going to go into right now the actual like what you're supposed to say, because what it comes down to is there is no what you're supposed to say. Everybody's going to take a different meaning with stuff. Like for example, this guy has me quoting freaking all these angels and shit according to like the Jewish Kabbalah or the Hebrew. Sorry, slight difference there, I imagine. But that's meaningless to me. So it's just sounds coming out of my mouth is pretty much what it amounts to. As it was explained through other sources, basically the sounds do represent resonances of energy. But I don't go with that. I don't want any sort of religious connotation in this whatsoever. All right, the cross is more of a centerness. Okay, I think of it as a crosshair. If you look, that's exactly what you got. The circle, and then your crosshair. I'm right on target with this. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing you construct, and you're basically building it in your mind. You're imagining these rugs that constitute this cross-shaped or square-shaped, in the end, altar that you're standing on about a foot high. And you imagine that light coming out of them, and pretty much like what you say is, you know what? Let me get into that. Let's see, the cross. Where is the cross? I'm going through this as quick as I can to give you a good rundown of it. All right, exercise of the cross. Basically, you start out, you visualize. You're going to put these all down on the table first. The 4 cross cards, all right? Okay. Imagine it basically 9 inches, it says, but I always picture it as a foot high. Oh, okay, the triangle is 9 inches high. The altar is 12 inches, but that's the astral dais. All right. Anyway, you can actually face in any direction when you're doing this, but the cards should always face in the 4 cardinal directions as shown. So if I was like sitting this way, I could throw the significator this way facing north. And it's really up to personal preference. Everybody's going to have a different thing. I like sitting facing east because it's easy to remember when I'm building the ritual circle and other stuff. All right. Basically, you say the heart of the 4. All right. So once you build the cross, you're going to picture on the astral plane. Then you're going to lay your significator down. I'm only using the King of Pentacles as an example. That's not my significator. So if anybody's got some trolling spells they want to cast at me, that's not going to work out. All right. So there we go. That's just an example. I use a totally different significator. but you can use any of the court cards as your significator. All right, basically it's one that represents you personality-wise to the highest degree. All right, and again, there's 16 of them, so I'm not going to go through right now and explain each and every one of them to you. I'm sure that's already up there on the internet somewhere if you look them up. But there you go. Now you're basically visualizing yourself standing on a rug shaped like your card. It's going to be about 6 feet in length, and then the same proportions, standing on top of that ritual altar. And then with your, he says right, you can use left. I don't think it really matters. Again, this is all pretty much free form. This is basic template stuff that you can memorize and then build off of. So yeah, you touch your significator and you say the heart of the 4, all right? And while you're doing that, you're basically, starting to build up energy, all right? You're going to touch the Ace of Swords first. You're going to say the sword in front of me, and you're basically imagining, let me see. Yeah, exactly. You're imagining the symbol of that ace. So here you're imagining a sword hovering in front of you on the far edge of that card. All right, basically in the astral plane. Same thing. Sorry. So you go sword in front of me, the cup behind me. All right, the pentacle on my left hand, and the wand on my right hand. And you're going to pause after each, and you're basically going to build that symbol up. And as you complete it, basically you're going to actually build the temple. All right, and there you go. And they float at the heart level of your astral body above the outer ends of the 4 arms of the cross. That is the altar at the edges of the raised dais. Touch your significator with your fingertip and say the words, the center of the universe. All right? And remember, before I even started getting into this, you remember me talking about everybody is the center of their own universe? Exactly. Everything I perceive from here until the end is perceived from the first person. But there are ways of getting your mind out of that to perceive things from the third person, or see through other people's eyes and stuff like that. So there you go. You build the cross. Next, you're going to build the circle. All right. I'm sorry. Before I get into that, as you complete this exercise and you say the heart of the universe, you're basically you're going to basically imagine that the arms of the cross, the beams of energy that you imagined before, extend infinitely. All right, and pretty much that's connecting you to the rest of the universe, and you're already connected to the rest of the universe, but it's basically strengthening that bond in your mind. And as you can see, as I'm touching the cards, they shift around a little bit. Physically, it doesn't matter. I tried to set it up as perfect as possible to start with, but you notice the shit moves and stuff. You don't have to freak out and be like, oh my god, my circle is broken. Physically, it really doesn't matter. All right, you got the basic shape. All right, the perfection exists in your mind, and that's where it's important. All right, I'm going to jump to the chapter on the circle. I actually refer back to the book, and I do recommend that you get this yourself because it includes a lot of background tidbits that are helpful as well. All right, but here we go, the circle. All right, so now you've already got your cross built, your significator's laid down, and you are imagining yourself standing there in the astral plane in the center of your temple room, and now you're building the circle. All right. So at this point, you would lay out all the cards in this order. All right, and you can change the order. Like I mentioned, Donald Tyson, he changes the order for himself, and he actually mentions that in the appendix on what changes he made. But you're going to lay them down in order: the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, all right, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Justice, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Star, and the Moon. All right, and they each represent one of the 12 signs of the zodiac, starting with Aries in the east. All right, and let me jump to the page that actually mentions that. Yeah, Emperor is Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. All right, so those are basic anchor points, the easy ones to remember. Emperor, Aries, all right. Justice, Libra, the scales, all right. Death would be Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, all right. And it's actually a mirror of what you see in the sky. So in actuality, the zodiac goes this way, all right, and you can see that because we're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. Before that, it was the age of Taurus, the bull, and then the age of Aries, the emperor. All right, Aries, Aries, fucking, yeah, you got it, you got it. All right, so after you lay them out, now you're basically going to imagine those cards laid out in your astral temple. All right, and you're going to start again. You're going to speak the words, the all-in-one, and as you do that, you're imagining that on the astral plane, you're touching the heart, all right, just like this, and you're basically building up energy in there, all right, and then you're going to start with the Emperor, and you're going to name it. You simply name the card, the Emperor, as you touch it with your finger, and you're going to imagine a block of rectangular light hovering above it. And I should actually stop this video in order to talk about this, in order to talk to my friend. But, you're going to go in order, the Emperor, and you're going to imagine that block of light hovering above that card. And you're going to try to imagine the symbol, the astrological symbol that corresponds with it, and you can look those up as well. I personally don't even bother with that, simply because, again, this is all representative symbolism there, all right? And it's hard for me to memorize all of them, and I don't want to sit there and mix them up and fuck with my own energy. So I simply don't even bother with it for now. Hierophant, and you go through all of them. And as you imagine that block of light materializing above that card, you're basically pointing at it on the astral plane, all right? So you're going to go through all of them. And once you get to the moon, all right, once you finally materialize that energy on the astral plane, you're going to touch the Emperor one more time. You're going to say, the circle is complete. You're going to imagine a circle of energy coming out of your significator, out of you, and you're basically going to imagine it coming to rest, crossing all the blocks of light. All right, and there you go. The circle is complete. And then finally, you're going to touch your significator one more time, and you're going to say the one in all. So the first time it's the all in one, and the second time it's the one in all. Sounds like Three Musketeers, right? One for all and all for one. Probably came from this stuff. All right, so that's your circle, and that's again your barrier of protection. It helps you to channel energy, and it helps you to maintain balance through your rituals, all right, all that stuff. Now, there are 7 cards that you'll use. They are the 7 trumps that were not used for the circle. All right, and I'll have to go through these in another episode because this is big. These are planetary modifiers. Okay. The Wheel of Fortune, the Empress, the Sun, the High Priestess, the World, and Magician, and the Tower. Those represent the 7 astrological planets, which can reside in any of the 12 signs. All right? And each of those planets will represent different things, and they will actually reside on... Let me make sure I got this right. I can't remember where the alignment is, but basically half of the circle is solar and half of the circle is lunar. All right, or active and passive, all right, but don't take this alignment for fact, okay? I'm just explaining it real quick. And as you build your layout for individual spells, you can choose up to 3 planetary modifiers, and I'm just laying them out at random here, all right, but they would go on top of your circle, on top of the card that they are supposed to influence, okay? And I'm not actually working a ritual. I have no idea what this would do in real life, and it's not a good idea to mess with it unless you understand specifically what the astrological symbols mean. And once you complete your circle, you're basically going to build those planetary influences on it. Finally, you've got the triangle of realization here, all right? And basically, this is going to represent a vortex of energy that contains your will or your energy, what you want to do in the world, and how you want to affect the fabric of reality. All right, and in a full ritual layout, this would be the last step. You're going to build this, and basically, same thing as before. Let me just make sure I got the words right. Just so that if you want to go with the template here, all right, and I got the order right too. Good. You're going to basically imagine the same sort of thing. You're going to imagine basically another altar in the shape of a triangle with the points cut off. All right, and you're going to visualize an upright triangle of white light form itself in the air above the triangular dais in the astral plane of working. All right, and so basically it's a triangle of energy, and it's going to become a vortex, which will project your influence. All right. Okay, and when you actually, all right, when you're building the triangle, all right, you're going to start with the Fool, and you're basically going to say the Fool. You're going to imagine it, and you're going to build that corner of the triangle. The Hanged Man, again, visualize the corner of the triangle, and Judgment, again, visualize that corner of the triangle. You're building that triangle up in the astral plane. So you're going to go counterclockwise with this. All right, and when you're actually casting a spell, all right, you're going to tap your, okay, and one last thing. When you're building the spell, before you do that, you've got your lower arcana, and that's your number cards of the 4 suits, okay? You got pentacles, swords, cups, and wands, just like before, and each of the numbers from 2 to 10, remember the aces are already being used here, will represent an objective that you could accomplish, or ways to influence your spell. And I'll go through those again in detail later on, but you're going to pick up to 3 of them, and you're going to actually lay them out in order as you go through this. Again, that's at random. I'm not actually using that, but they're going to go right on top there. In addition, you could use the significator to represent a person, or possibly even an organization, represent your target of the spell. For example, if you want to give somebody a barrier of protection or something like that, you know what I mean? You would use a significator to represent that person. You would lay it on top. All right? So in an actual spell, you would actually tap your significator. You're going to imagine energy charging up inside of you like a battery. All right? All sorts of energy, all positive, I would say. That's a good way to go. I always try to think positive energy like a battery. And that's when I really start to feel that vibration going. And then at that point, once you're going to recognize exactly when you're supposed to do it, but at some point you're going to feel yourself get fully charged with all that energy, and at that point you're going to tap your realizer cards on top of the triangle of realization, and you're going to say the purpose is fulfilled, and at that point you're imagining yourself shooting that ray of energy into that target to complete your objective. And once you do that, try to hold those realizers there as well as the significator that represents that target for just a second. Hold them there in your mind and recognize exactly what they are supposed to do, and then at that point imagine that it's already completed, and you're going to turn your mind away from it. You're going to stop thinking about this ritual altogether. You're going to forget that it just happened, is pretty much how it works out. Again, there are ways to do this, and I'll go into them when I start talking about sigil magic, because I'm running on almost 25 minutes here, and I'm going to finish this up now. At this point, once you complete that ritual, you're going to pick up the cards in the reverse order that you laid them out, okay? So at this point, you're going to go and you're going to pick up the Judgment, Hangman, the Fool, and then, of course, your realizers and your significator for the target would go first if you had them, all right? And then the Moon, all right, Star, Devil, Temperance, Death, Justice. Whoop. And again, don't worry if you mess up the layout. All right, so we're going to pick all of them up. All right, pick up the circle, pick up your significator, and then, the rest of the cards. I'm not even going to finish it right now. But once you pick them all up, you're going to shuffle them all back into the deck of tarot. And that's basically shuffling away the energy that you just tapped into and influenced. And that will prevent it from having that residual effects that you might not want. And then I did work one ritual, and I'll go into that in a later episode, and I'll talk about it a little bit. But I think it's still happening, so I'm just not even going to worry about it right now. You're not supposed to think about the spell you just cast. Anytime it does consciously enter your mind, try to turn your mind away from it, think of other things. Give yourself a good hearty laugh. That is one way to clear your mind, even if it sounds fake, like ha 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 ha. And if you laugh hard, that kind of blanks your mind for a second. And one thing I borrowed from the other book, High Magic, is the license to depart. I think I explained that already, and it can be in your own words, but I basically say any spirits or energies that have been influenced or attracted by this ritual, you are free to depart. May you go in peace, and me as well. And that's it. Then I end it, I put away my cards, and I go about my business doing other things. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, the quick rundown of how it actually works out. I know when I was setting it up and I was actually casting a ritual spell, it took me about an hour to do everything. And so it is a little bit time consuming depending on what you want to actually do. The more complicated it is, the more research you want to do into your planetary modifiers and your realizers beforehand, and make sure that they're down pat. And I'll explain how those work out in a future episode. All right. Keep on learning, all right? And remember to focus your mind on the things that you think are really important, not on the things that the powers that be tell you is important. All right? Peace.